All right, guys. So we are going to be going over, I think this is the most important part of like learning how to dial is mastering the rebuttals. The reason being is because you're going to get thrown with more rebuttals than you ever will going through the script without anyone saying something to you or asking you a question, because those are, again, the hiccups of the script are going to be the rebuttals. If you're prepared for the rebuttals and you bounce back on your feet, you will book more appointments. So I tell people, if I'm training anyone, if I give you two pieces of paper, right, which is going to be the script and the rebuttals, I say, hey, get really familiar with the script, obviously memorize the thing, but I really want you to master the rebuttals, because you're going to get thrown with way more rebuttals than you could possibly imagine. You're not really going to go through the script perfectly. So to prepare yourself for what to expect on a dial day, master these most common rebuttals, right? So we're always going to get the most common. I'm going to go through the obviously the script here now. I know I'm sharing my screen. And so some things that I would like to preface is aim for 3 no's. If you call someone, they say they're not interested, don't just hang up and, give up and move on to the next. I want you to get really good at like practicing what to expect and like, being agile and saying certain things. So if you talk to someone and they say they're not interested 3 different times after you've mastered like what to say next, move on from that. Don't just give up on the first try. So I say, hey, aim for 3 no's. Pro tip, be conditioned to ask a question after each statement. The reason being, and a mentor of ours have said this before, the person who asks the most questions wins. They're in control of the conversation. If I asked you a lot of questions, you're just going to respond and I get to navigate the conversation. But if someone's like, who do you work for? How'd you get my info? I didn't do that, or whatever they're saying, they're in control because they're asking questions, right? So I want you to know, if you make a statement, after each statement, be conditioned to ask a question. So at the top here, I do have some examples of questions just in case you have a brain fart and you don't know what question to appropriately ask next. It just gives you time to ask the question, then go back to the script. We always say, hey, if you're doing rebuttals, neutralize. What neutralize means is like you're saying perfect, no problem. It might sound repetitive, but if someone's yelling at you like F off, you don't want to be like yelling at them back. You want to say, hey, no problem, John. I'm sorry. It was several months ago. You're kind of on their team. So when you neutralize, it makes everybody a little bit more calm. You don't necessarily want to match their energy if they're upset. So neutralize, rebuttal, ask a question, back to script is kind of what we say, right? So again, a neutralizer is perfect. That's exactly why I'm calling. Great. No problem, John. Get really good at asking those, and that's why they're at the front of each rebuttal. So I'm going to go over these. So the most common one you're going to get is I don't remember. I don't know what this is. I didn't do that, right? It's just another form of I don't remember. So if someone ever says, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't remember, I simply say, hey, John, no problem. This was actually a few months back. I don't blame you for forgetting. I don't even know what I had for breakfast. You could say whatever you want here, but on the rebuttal sheet, I just say, hey, no problem. It was a few months ago. We're just now catching up with everything. Just so we're on the same page, John, this is the type of coverage. If anything did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for your family. Now, has anyone gotten this out to you yet? Or you could say, do you have something like this that if you suddenly died, it would take care of the mortgage? Or you could say, is this something that's still important to you? You see, I'm asking that question. That's going to give us a solid answer to move forward. Whatever they say, we go back to the script. Now, if they're being difficult, you could just ask a direct question, which I have here. Well, John, do you even have anything that would cover the mortgage if you suddenly died or became disabled? And then he'll say yes or no. You say perfect. That's exactly why I'm calling. Transition back to the script. Okay? So that's I don't remember. Remember, we're just clarifying what do you mean you don't remember? You don't even know what I'm talking about. So let me ask, this is the type of coverage if anything did happen to you, John, the mortgage is taken care of. Do you already have something like this? Yes or no, go back to the script. Okay, that's the most common one is I don't remember. It's also on the front page of the script. I always clarify what exactly mortgage protection is with this exact question. Okay. Next thing is someone's going to say, I already have life insurance. Now, guys, just so you know, we obviously have life insurance products here, but I always say, hey, so life insurance. So let's say someone says, I already have life insurance. I say, hey, okay, perfect. So this is actually a little bit different than general life insurance, John. Life insurance is a little more like death insurance, but what mortgage protection is, it's the type of coverage that would pay off your home if you suddenly died or became disabled or got cancer. Now, has anyone gotten this out to you yet? Or do you have anything like this put in place already, John? He's going to answer. We go back to the script. Okay. That's I already have life insurance. Some people are going to say, who do you work for? How'd you get my information? So if someone says, who do you work for, right? Because remember, now they're in control. They're asking you the question. So this is how you appropriately respond. If someone says, who do you work for? I'm going to say, hey, no problem. I'm actually I'm actually licensed within the state. And I represent all the different mortgage protection companies here within the state. Now, just so we're on the same page, this is the type of coverage, Mary, that if anything did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for your family. Has anyone gotten this out to you yet? Or instead of clarifying that, I might say, so if someone says, who do you work for? Hey, no problem. I'm actually licensed here in the state. I represent all the different mortgage protection companies. I know it was a few months ago, Mary, but I do have you at 123 Main Street. Is that your address? And then I also have a co-borrower here as John. Is that your co-borrower, or, is that a family member or a spouse? See, I'm using the information we have on the lead to control the conversation and go back to the script. And then I might ask, just so we're on the same page, this is the type of coverage if anything did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for the family. Do you have something like this already, Mary? Yes or no? And then I go back to the script. See, we're just kind of like neutralizing, asking. We have data. They actually filled this out. And just so you guys know, we're not cold calling. Like, these people legally filled it out and we legally have a right to call them. So don't ever feel different about that. And that's why when you use the data points on there, because depending on what lead, you're going to have their full name, their address, their loan amount, their co-borrower's name, if they have a history of cancer, their lender. You have actual data points that you didn't just pull that out of what are those called? Phone books? You didn't just pull it out of the phone book or out of thin air. They actually filled this out. So don't be alarmed if someone's yelling at you. Just be like, you just kind of like, hey, that's why we neutralize. Hey, no problem, Mary. It was several months ago, but I'm actually licensed here within the state as a medical field underwriter. I represent all the different mortgage protection companies here within the state. And again, it was a few months ago, but I do have you at 123 Main Street. That's your address, right? Oh, it is perfect. And your loan amount is $300,000. Okay, cool. And I also have John here as your co-borrower. Is that your spouse or is that a family member? And I'm just going back to the script. That's why I want you to get really familiar with the script, because if someone throws a curveball at you, navigate appropriately, right? Know your craft, get really good. And sometimes I tell people, hey, pretend you're about to go on stage at the end of the week and you have to memorize these 2 pieces of paper and you have to go perform on stage. What's awesome, guys, is when you're dialing, you're going to have your cheat sheet in front of you, but show up prepared, know your stuff, practice, go in the mirror, record yourself. Like I know I match people where their effort's at and how committed they are to this business. And I'll put every ounce of effort that you're putting in here. Okay. Now that was, who do you work for? Next is another one you're going to get is, I'm not interested. Or someone says, I don't want it, or I'm not interested. Like, I might take that as, oh, you're saying I'm not interested, because they're not verbatim going to say I'm not interested. You got to just know, oh, he's saying he's not interested in a different form or fashion. So if someone said, I'm not interested, I'm going to say, hey, perfect. Well, let me update your file, John, so you stop getting these calls. The reason why I'm saying that is because if someone says they're not interested, they're just going to hang up. So I want to hold on to that before they hang up, and I'm going to say, perfect. Well, let me update your file, John, so you stop getting these calls, okay? Now, were you not interested because you couldn't qualify, or was it too expensive? I'm now controlling the conversation by asking him a question where he has to pick one of 2 answers. That's very powerful. You're going down one route or this route, okay? So most people might say it was just too expensive, right? So on here on the script, if you're studying it, if someone says, oh, it was too expensive, I'm going to say, well, perfect. That's exactly why I'm calling. That's probably why it was sent out to me. That's probably why it was flagged. You're using verbiage like that. Now, hey, John, so we specialize in helping people who are on a fixed income. We could actually find you something super affordable. Now, are you working, retired, or disabled? Or I might pull something out of the lead data that I have. Remember, just control it with any type of question. So in full, if someone says, oh, it's just too expensive, I'm going to say, perfect. Well, that's exactly why I'm calling. John, we actually specialize in helping people who are on a fixed income. Now, are you, I know your address here, it says you're at 123 Main Street. That's correct, right? Cool. And then I have your co-borrower here is Mary. Is that a spouse or a family member? And I'm going back to the script. So that's too expensive. Now we go back to the I'm not interested. Perfect. Well, let me update your file, John, just so you stop getting these calls. 1 second here. Now, were you not interested because you couldn't qualify, or was it just too expensive? Can't qualify. Okay, well, perfect. That's exactly why I'm calling. I'm actually one of the medical field underwriters. I specialize a lot more on the medical side of things. We help people who have been declined before. This makes sense why this was sent out to me. Now, John, are you still at 123 Main Street, or are you working, retired, or disabled? Or, I see your co-borrower is Mary. Is that your spouse or your family member? You're going back to asking one of those questions just to get back in control and go back to the script accordingly, okay? That's I'm not interested. We're going to go down to this one. I got it taken care of. You're probably going to get this one a lot. This one could be a little bit, you can navigate any which route. So I'm just going to give you one of my examples. Okay. So again, on here, I got it taken care of. Sound a little bit concerned, sound curious. You're just trying to find out, oh, you did? Well, let me update the file. So if someone says, oh, I already got this taken care of, I'm going to say, oh, okay, well, perfect. Let me update your file, John, because the last underwriter didn't do so. How long ago did you get it taken care of? He's going to say, a couple months ago. Okay, so I'm going to say, hey, have you already received your policy packet in the mail yet? And then he's going to say, no, I haven't. If he says no, he hasn't, that makes sense why this was flagged. You should have already received it. Now, which one of our carriers did you end up going with? Now, let's say he says, I didn't, or I did receive it already. I'll say, oh, perfect. Well, let me update this here. Now, which one of our carriers did you go with? Because I'm saying our as if I'm assuming it was someone else from this office, because it might very well be. And I'm not trying to like take anyone's business, obviously, but some people just say, I got it taken care of just to get you off the phone. And our job is to educate. And when we educate, we're going to see if they're in the right position. I would never take someone out of a policy if they're in the perfect position. And you, as a licensed agent, can't legally do that too. We would never put our clients in a worse position. Okay. So for me, I'm just framing questions to be curious, to actually see if they know what they have. Because I'm telling you, 8 times out of 10, they don't know what the heck they have. They're just trying to get you off the phone because they think you're a salesperson, but you're not. We're just educating, seeing if they got the appropriate coverage. That's my whole basis behind I got it taken care of. So again, we'll go, I got it taken care of. Perfect, John. Let me update your file because the last underwriter didn't do so. Now, how long ago did you get it taken care of? 2 months ago. Cool. Have you received your policy packet in the mail yet? Well, no, I haven't. Okay. Makes sense why this was flagged. Now, which one of our carriers did you end up going with? They're going to say, I might save one of our carriers, right? Was it Mutual of Omaha, Prosperity, Americo? Regardless of what they say, let's say it is Mutual of Omaha, they might be in a good spot, but I'm still going to ask them questions because I've had this happen a number of times when someone told me it's Mutual of Omaha. Come to find out, they haven't even paid on the plan, which means they don't have the protection. And our goal here is to get them the protection. They thought they had the plan, but they didn't. And you just find out by asking the right questions. So that is, when we say which one of our carriers did they go with, if it's one of ours, they might be in a good spot, but still ask questions to make sure the policy actually started. Now, let's say they say State Farm, or they have Allstate, or they have something through AARP. I'm going to say, hey, well, and we're gonna scroll down here. I'm gonna say, oh, it sounds like you're describing just general life insurance. That's a little bit different. This is what mortgage protection coverage is, just so we're on the same page. It's the type of coverage that if something did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for your family, right? So like a cancer, anything like that. Now, has anyone got this type of coverage out to you yet? Has anyone got this information out to you? It's different than what you currently have. So I'm going to clarify that it's not regular life insurance. It's not homeowners insurance. It's not car insurance, right? And then I describe what the coverage is, and then we kind of go from there. Okay. And so you're going to see this line a lot. This is the type of coverage that if anything did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for the family. I use this as like a crutch. Every time someone says something stupid, I'm saying, hey, John, no worries. Now, this is the type of coverage if something did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for the family. I'm just clearing the air. Yes or no. Remember, put them in the yes or the no pile, but just make sure you're doing your due diligence, that they understand what the heck you're talking about. Because if someone says they're not interested and you don't pry, they might be in a bad spot and they may not have an insurance. That's not good. We want to make sure we're educating people and giving them the right type of information to make sure they can make some good choices for their family. Okay. There's no other reason why they wouldn't fill out the information, the request. Okay. So that is, I got it taken care of. Again, sound concerned, curious, practice that one a lot because it could go a lot of different ways. But primarily what I'm going to be asking is, how long ago did you get it taken care of? Have you received your policy packet in the mail? Which one of our carriers did you go with? Okay. You might say something like, oh, is there something major with your health that led you to that company? Any history of heart attack, strokes, or cancer? It's just, I'm giving you different examples of what to ask. You don't have to follow this verbatim. Just get good at like flowing with the rebuttals back into the script. Okay. And then that's kind of most of it. Some people ask how you get my info. I mean, you don't really get these a lot. If someone ever asks you, hey, can you mail it to me? Can you email it to me? I'll say, I wish I could. That would make my job a lot easier, but it's actually on a case-by-case basis. It's not something that you could just kind of like pick out of the store. I just got to ask you a few minutes of some health questions, financial questions. Shouldn't take long, but there is no exact rate I could just send to you without asking you those questions. So again, you don't have to like respond with that many words. I'll say, hey, make my job a lot easier if I could email it to you, but it actually isn't like that. That's why they have to assign an underwriter to you. I just got to ask a few minutes of some health questions. Now, John, are you still at work right now? And then I go back to the script. I'm controlling it. Hey, are you still at work right now? When are you typically home from work? And I book the appointment. And I would say that's kind of all I got for you. Oh, this is actually very important. Now, if someone keeps hanging up on you, I'm not going to lie. I call them back. If I can't even get a word in and they hang up, I'm calling them back like 2, 3, 4 times. And when they answer, I'll say, hey, Mary, I'm not a telemarketer. I'm not a salesperson. I'm one of the medical field underwriters. We were just calling because this was the mortgage protection insurance. I have you at 123 Main Street. Is that you? I just got to update your file. So I'm like coming off like, hey, I'm not a telemarketer. I'm a medical field underwriter. This was the type of coverage. If anything did happen to you, the mortgage is taken care of for your family. Did anyone get this out to you yet? You see, I'm just going back to that crutch of like, hey, I'm not a telemarketer. I'm a medical field underwriter. This was several months ago, so I don't blame you for forgetting. Now, are you still at 123 Main Street? And I'll go to whatever back in the script, okay? So that's kind of most of the rebuttals. I also suggest you guys keep the links because we actually update these periodically. So if you have the outdated version because you printed it, go back to the link because we have updated ones. Practice these rebuttals. Master these rebuttals, okay? Get familiar with the script, but know those 2 documents are going to be right in front of you, but be prepared. Right? You want to be prepared. You make a lot of money here. And so, I mean, I always say if you want to get paid like an all-star, you got to freaking practice like an all-star. All right. You guys have a good one.